Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Faiza Possible, your African village girl. So today I'm just here to answer the question. I would love to get a driving permit in Uganda. What can I do? Right? So first things first, you guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly do subscribe, like, share and comment, and also let me know what you think about this video. So this video I'm making is not coming from a perspective of a consultant or a professional or something like that. I just want to share my experience, just my experience on how I was able to go to a driving school and then get a driving permit. That is all, nothing more, nothing less. So don't expect much. However, you can go further to the respective driving schools and you ask further in case of anything. I'm just going to be sharing my experiences. So I think this works for both national and international applicants, those who want to acquire driving permits in this country. So yeah, guys, the journey has been a tough one. Life has not been easy. I should say things have been pretty much tough for me. Yeah, that is why I've not been able to even upload, because there is just a lot ongoing in my head. So I hope things work well. But amidst all the confusions and all that are happening, I got motivated to go to a driving school. Why? Because I just saw that I had enough time at hand, and I had some little money as well. So I saw I had enough time and like enough time to myself, and of course you know how unemployed can be. So that is what pushed me to go. So I went to Prestige driving school. You know, I didn't pretty much know a lot of driving schools in Uganda. I knew, is it Harris, one of the two. I think it's Harris. Then there is Prestige, and there are people in my circle whom I know who use Prestige as their driving school of choice. So that is why I went there. So me, I didn't even make much consultations. Like I would just hear in the past someone says, oh, I went to Prestige, and that was it. And that's how I ended at Prestige. Yeah, so I went to Prestige driving school. I think this is one of the best in the country. It's among the top the top driving schools in the country. You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is it, basing on media and also hearsays. Yeah, so I went, and I think that was in June. Yeah, June this year. I'm not sure, but around that time, because I'm making this video in September. So I went there, and then I asked them the processes and everything, right? So I'm just gonna be sharing. So when I went there, they told me they do class B only at the branch where I was. I think they have branches all over the country, and there are some branches that do other vehicle classes, but the one I went to specifically does class B, right? So class B, those are like vehicles that carry some, I think, of 8 people. Then also yeah, these small vehicles basically that can carry 5 people, 4 people, 5 people, something like that. So, and they said they offer two permits. That's the 5-year permit and the 3 years permit. The 5-year permit is 700. Is it 735,000? Oh my god, I've forgotten so soon. But it's around 735,000. Okay, let's say around 750,000. Then the 3-year permit is around 650,000. Those are not the right figures. I think I've forgotten very fast. But around there, right? Not above, below 650 something and 750 something. So those are the two. So I asked, why should I go for the 5-year or the 3-year? They said that the 3-year you go and renew and after those 3 years have elapsed, you go and renew, and you get to pay extra money, around I think 200 something thousand. And they also pointed out to me that that particular one is basically for those who are willing to upgrade their classes, right? You know how someone maybe wants to be a truck driver, so they have to start with the smaller vehicles, then they go to the next class to driving trucks and whatnot. So it's very hard, like, to add a new class to your already permit. People don't like that inconvenience. So what they do is they go for their 3 years, then after 3 years you can add a class, right? Then for 5 years, they said it's better for women, mostly because we don't want to add a class. You just want to learn your driving, and you're able to drive your small car that you have at home, you know? Yeah, you know the cars that I'm talking about for women, something like that. So I opted for the 5 years. Why? I don't see any reason why after 3 years I should spend 200 more, you know, amount of money, and also my time to struggle to replace a driving permit. So I opted for the 5 years. Then they asked which type of car do I want to drive. So there are 2 types, right? There is automatic and there is the manual car. So the automatic car, as you know, it's the one that is trending right now. Then there is the manual car. The rule is that you first have to learn manual for some days, then you go for the automatic car, right? And that is what really happened. So I asked them, how fast can I start? And they said as soon as possible. I went there in the morning. I remember it was a Monday. I remember very well. But I also had this yearning to learn how to drive, like, for a long time, you know. So I just couldn't wait, and I knew if I kept that money, if I held it for long, definitely it was going to go into other needs. Yeah. So they said as soon as possible, and I told them I would be studying in the afternoon, and they said it's okay. Then that was pretty much it. Then I asked for the number of days. They said they do 3 weeks. That's approximately 18 days, because you have 5 days, and each day you drive or you practice for 30 minutes, right? So 5 days, then an addition of the theory class, which is every Saturday from 9 to 11, 9 to midday, exactly. So for the 3 weeks, that's what you go through to learn. Yeah. Then what else they told me on that very first day? I had to report with closed shoes for driving. You don't have to go with open shoes or slippers or sandals. You have to go with, like, real closed shoes, and they're very strict on that. If you don't go with it, you are chased. Then about payment, you can pay in installments or you pay all. By God's grace, I was able to, like, clear everything on the very first day, because I just didn't want to carry the burden. But I also know, because I have a lot of money needs here and there, and I would be tempted, you know, to use the money or to divert the money to something else that was not meant for it. So I started. Yeah, I started that very day in the afternoon. I would go, then, yeah, in most cases you're either 2 or 3 driving. So you drive your 30 minutes, then another person drives 30 minutes, then the other person drives 30 minutes. So the first week, it's basically for manual cars. Then the second week is basically for automatic cars. And the third week is basically for reverse parking and box parking. Basically parking, because by that time you know how to drive, right? So yeah, and also by that time now you get to major in one, because when you're going to Naguru is like the national testing center. When you're going there, you have to choose one. You either choose to do automatic or you do manual cars, right? So me, I was so much into the manual car, because this also has an advantage. In Uganda, I'm not sure about this, but I was told you get to have 2 kinds of permits, right? There is the automatic permit. So when you have an automatic permit, it is not accepted for you to drive a manual car, because they expect you not to know how to drive the manual car, right? For you to go and do the testing or get certified in the automatic driving permit, right? So me, I didn't want that, because I just wanted a dual permit, okay? One that allows me to drive both automatic and manual cars, just in case of emergencies, you understand? So there may be an emergency case, and, you know, a manual car is just there. God forbid, a manual car is just there, and you're not able to drive just because because you did not do a test with the government using manual cars, right? So me, I just didn't want that. I wanted both. Yeah, I wanted both. I wanted my driving permit to have both automatic and manual. And yes, people fear manual cars so much. It was so tough for me as well, but I thank God I made it. So that was the whole process, right? Then within those 3 weeks, you are expected to get your learner's driving permit, which you go and pick at the railway offices in Kampala. I forgot the name of that place, but I think it's just behind Victoria University. Yeah, that place, next to Mukwano, the railway station in Kampala, right? Yeah. So there, you can comment in the comment section the right location, but you had to go and pick it from there. And that is, once you make full payment, they start processing for it. So you're able to pick that learner's permit. You're not supposed to use the learner's permit when you're driving as a full-fledged permission to drive, except you have your instructor with you, right? So me, I didn't pretty much use it. I only used it during the times that I was training. So once you get that, it has a time lapse of 3 months within which you can use it, and after the 3 months it expires and you have to apply for another one, right? So the rule is that you need to use that until you're able to get your real permit, which will take up to like 2 to 3 months to get, right? So yeah, I picked mine very early and my test was scheduled. So what happens is, when you pick that learner's permit, the test is scheduled, right? So there are tests that are done for Prestige as a company. They do their own pre-test. They call it a pre-test. Then you get to also do the test of the government. Maybe before I even go to the test, let me first tell you my driving experience. In the first days, it was quite tough for me. One thing I noticed, I loved the steering wheel so much. I loved the steering wheel. Oh my God. Like, I was obsessed. I would just turn it anyhow. I didn't know that if you're maybe on a straight road, you just have to like keep it there and maybe just do a little. Like, I would, so in most cases, in the beginning days, I was always swaying off the road, but I thank God I later got well. Then I also had issues with making corners. I also had issues with hill balance. You guys, actually my first ever driving, oh my God, we climbed a very huge hill. This is not to scare you, but you have to like be confident on the road. So we climbed a very huge hill, but someone else was driving, like another student was driving, and then the instructor. So I kept thinking, I'm like, okay, the lady had told me in the first day, you just get to observe and see how things are done and whatnot. So I was comfortable thinking, okay, this is just it. But I'm telling you, after that hill, my instructor told me I'm the one to drive getting back to office. You guys, I died. Like, I was so scared. Taking back the car to the office, it was, oh my God, it was the worst experience ever. But I thank God. I don't know whether all Prestige instructors are like that, but the one that I had at my branch, up to now, I am grateful to God for this gentleman. Like, he understood my position as a woman. He understood that he had to be very, very patient with me. And oh my God, it was so terrible that day. I almost knocked things, but he was there for me. Yeah, so I maneuvered somehow and then got more comfortable on the road, and then driving was done, you get. So I did my manual days, I did my automatic days, and then time came for the reverse parking and box parking. Those are the basic 2 types or kinds of parking that are done under Prestige. I don't know other driving schools what they do, but for us we did those 2 only. And it's not easy. I had to practice. Oh my God, I had to practice. I had to even incur extra costs in form of time and resources. Sometimes the 30 minutes just didn't feel enough for me, and I had to like get sources outside, my friends, and borrow their cars and use to practice for the test and all of that, because the reverse parking and box parking is no joke, my darling, is no joke. But finally I figured it out. And to make matters worse, when you're doing those parkings using manual cars, you know how when you try to shake a bit and the leg is not stable, before you know it, the clutch has failed to balance, and then the vehicle goes off, and then you're given like a 5 minutes limit to do all the parking within that time span. You get it wasn't easy, but I made it. So back to the test. We did 2 tests, and it so happens that by the time I did my test, it was at that time where Prestige was doing the test, I think around Nambole. They were initially doing it at Naguru, the Pretest, but they changed to Nambole now. There is change in the structure of the land. In Naguru, or at Naguru, the place is like plain, right? Like plain. Then the other side is sort of hilly, and you had to like, usually when you're doing the parking, how I was taught, you don't have to accelerate. You understand? Because even when you're out there, when you're out there at a parking lot, you can easily scratch somebody's car or knock someone or knock something if you accelerate, and if you're not careful, with that with the accelerator. So they told us not to drive. I mean, not to accelerate. So it turns out that at Nambole it's a hill, so you have to accelerate small. But I'm telling you guys, that day, I'll never forget that day. I was freaking scared. I was scared to the extent that, leave alone all these being scared you feel when you're maybe going for an exam or for a paper. That was like, I was so scared that I messed up big time during that pretest. Imagine, I went with like 4 friends of mine. These were all males who all excelled without any problem at their test. But me, it's not like I was making blunders and knocking things on or what. My legs were just stuck. I remember my body was shaking. I was so scared, like I don't know what even happened. I lost control of myself. And I think on that very day I was doing some online class, that we had classes and I'd missed the previous week, and now this week I had a presentation to make and I'd not prepared because I had to prepare for this test. And by the way, there are 2 tests you do, theory and practical, so I had to prepare for all of those. So the whole day was like a mess for me. I'm telling you, I freaked out. But finally, at the end of the day, I made it. It was not simple. Like, I would get into the car and I'm just stuck. I cannot make a move. I cannot make a step. I cannot do anything, But I thank God, finally, it worked for me. So after that, after passing the practical test, we had to go for the theory test. And yeah, they ask only 4 questions, and basically they're road signs, right? The theory test, I forgot to tell you, is all about road signs, right? And the practical test, you can do a road test where you drive on the road, or you can do box parking or reverse parking, and then you're good to go. And that is done by the IOV. Oh, God have mercy, baby. Is it Inspector of Vehicles? Yeah. Exactly. And it's done by the police, like the national police. So after all that I went through that very day of the pre-test, I just decided I'm going to take 2 weeks just to work on my confidence and to work on myself, It's put in such a way that when you pass the pre-test, next week you go for your what? For your final test, which is done by the government. So I refused to go. I let my friends go. It was so painful because, and by these are friends I met during the driving, and we are still very, very, very good friends. So shout out to you all. Yeah, we're still very good friends. Obed, Alex, Jen, oh my God, Brenda, there are many Milton, yeah, like I made very great friends, so they had to go. I told them, you know what guys, I'm not going to embarrass myself, and I'm not sure if corruption is done, but I also didn't want to involve myself in any form of corruption. So I just wanted to like do this thing, because at the end of the day, this is driving we are talking about, and if you mess up, it's going to be on you. You understand? So I didn't want to involve myself in anything. I don't know if they're there, but I also didn't want to involve myself. Like, I really wanted to do it and do it right. So I gave myself 2 weeks. I just came home that day. I told people everything went well, but it was not so well, because I really struggled. Like, I struggled to pass through. So I came home. I took time. I had to incur extra costs, because by this time my days with Prestige driving school had elapsed, and it was just a problem of confidence. Though me, I even take it more spiritual, because it was so unlike me. Then I had to take some time off. I practiced, you know, called other people, tried different cars, because that's another factor. You may find out that where you are at your branch, it's a different car, and when you get to the other side, at the training site, at that testing site, it's a different car, and then you're scared because you've never tried that car. And I think that is what I went through, right? And also, people were overfailing. You understand? The pretest, people were overfailing it. So that also, you know how you are the next and the person before you failed. You get? That is how I was losing balance, and that's how the day ended the way it did. So here I am. I came back. I prayed. You know, I fasted. I'm saying this because I give it all to God, because I literally prayed to God to give me the confidence that I need in order to to excel. So I pushed. The good thing with Prestige, they're very flexible. If you're not available for the class, you can tell them, today I'm not going to make it, and they will not count that day. You simply show up next time that you show up. And even for the test, if you're not going to be available, just tell them, you know what, I'm not going to be there next week, and you know. So the day for the test, after praying, God gave me all the confidence, and this time around I was alone without any friend. I reached the venue, then they had to separate us. You know, there are 2 centers, so I was taken to the lower center, and some other people remained up, and which I think was the best thing that happened to me. So this time around I was very confident. God had worked on me. I'd also done physical work of practicing and going an extra mile in carrying extra courses of practicing different cars and getting there. So yeah, so when they said, okay, we need people for the theory test, now from there you first do the theory test. Remember, at Prestige you do practical first, then if you pass practical you go for theory. Now at the IOV station you first do the theory test, then when you pass it you go for the other one, and I think pass mark is 75, something like that. It should be 75. So that day was like, you know, I was scared, but I kept confessing and saying, I'm not afraid. I'm the righteousness of God. I have confidence. Jesus is my strength. I'm a child of God. I can do this. Like, I had to constantly remind myself, So yeah, we did the test, the theory test. So I went for the online test. There is an option of doing the theory test online, or you do it, or you do the physical one where you get to write and circle. There are just objectives. They're not so hard, but hard enough. They involve safety, I think, security, mechanics. They involve mechanics, and what else? Mechanics and road signs, yeah, and others, I think wellness, something like that. So yeah, but objective questions, those ones that you just circle. Yeah, so I did the online one and I excelled. I had, I think, 80 or 81%. When I finished with that, so the next thing was the practical. Of course, they first showed us how we are supposed to do our parking. And here it was box parking. Then you go turn at the roundabout. Then you go somewhere there. The compound is very large. Then you go, and people are moving. There are many cars there because other people also go for testing. One thing I made, a mistake I made the first time, was waiting for people to finish, then I also go. So you see, everyone who was filled and then you're scared, you're like, I'm also not going to do it. This time round, I determined in my heart, I'm like, I'm going to go first. I'm not going to wait. Yes. So I was the first girl, not the first woman to drive, because there are other 2 women who drove, but automatic. I was the first girl to drive manual cars, and I think I was the 3rd person to drive. Yeah, I didn't wait for people to first make mistakes, then I'm scared and whatnot. I went early. And also the policemen were like, we want women to go first, because there are always a lot of people there, like too many people that, oh my god. So I went early, and yeah, I drove, and I was just praying. I'm like, God, if I can get that car off that box, because what happens from there, you find the car inside the box, right? Then you remove it outside the box, you go make a corner around, okay, a corner at the roundabout, then you go, you bring it back there. So I told God, if I can only get out, the rest I will handle, you know. And the clutch as well. The other time I could not balance the clutch because I was shaking, but this time I was not shaking. And you guys, I did it by God's grace. I do not take it on me. I did it. And yeah, like when I got out of the box the first, I was like, woo, you've done it, you know. And I even oversped at that point, because for some reasons I just decided to accelerate small. It wasn't really overspeeding, but somehow yes. And then I went, made my corner, and I came back, and I parked effortlessly, flawlessly, without any problem, without anything. And it was a manual car, you know. And that was it. So for those who want to drive, please come. Now, that is for someone who chooses to go through the driving. Or someone will ask, how many did I get in the other one? I got 88% in the practical. So I got 80s. Yeah. So someone may ask, if I don't want to go through a driving school, what do I do? So that is, you know how to drive already, right? You know how to drive. You just need a permit. With that, you can go to the office, right? And I think the 3-year one takes over, I think it should be taking around 300,000, and the other one takes around 400,000, the 5-year permit. Yeah, so those are for those who know how to drive already. Then if you have your own car and you need to get the permit as well, you go to the IOV's office. I have to be sure that is the right one, but yeah, you go there and then they test you. And you can also choose to go through a driving school. You go to the driving school and you tell them. Okay, so then after that place, after the testing, you take 2 weeks and your permit gets out. But it depends on the school. Sometimes they delay and sometimes they don't. That is it. And then after that test, you can also go for the express, which is, I think they charge you 100,000 Ugandan shillings. I didn't mean to make this video long, but yes, it turns out to be long, but that's all that I wanted to share with you guys. So here I am. Yeah, I have the skill of driving, and I thank God. I really thank God for that. Thank you guys for keeping with me and watching this video. I remain Faiza Possible, your African village girl, until my next vlog. See you, but don't forget to watch my other video, because I put everything about the driving, the shenanigans, the knockings and everything, because I kept feeling, I kept filming the process. So you want to check it out, really, you want to check it out. Bye.